Good afternoon. I'm Scott Harris, the Barbara C. and Clifford J. Swift III Director of the Joyce and Henry Schroeb School of Music at Columbus State University. And it's a real honor to extend a warm welcome to our new students, the undergraduate class of 2030, feels hard to even imagine 2030, and the graduate class of 2028, our returning students, Provost Anderson, faculty, staff, board members, patrons, and friends. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here and online for a bit of pomp and circumstance and, more importantly, music, as we launch a new academic year. Now, Music Convocation is an actual class. It meets Fridays at 2:30, but for today, it's a cause for celebration. That class is led by Dr. Joe Girard. And speaking of celebrations and Dr. Girard, today's his birthday. And this is a music school, so you know what we gotta do. All right, whose high C was that? No. The music you heard during the processional was the CSU Trumpet Ensemble under the direction of Dr. Aaron Jensen. The arranger was CSU student Annalise Rosati, and the soloist was Jacob Rosengren. Let's thank them all for their contributions to today's festivities. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce CSU's new provost and executive vice president, Dr. Dustin Anderson. Dr. Anderson.
Thank you all very much. I am extraordinarily honored to be able to come and welcome you on behalf of both myself and our president. Your dean sends her warmest regards. She unfortunately was not able to be here because of family emergency. What we do is so vitally important. You are starting off a brand new semester of a brand new year, and you will be led by a group of extraordinary people. If I can abuse my privilege as provost for just a second, I'd like to ask the faculty to stand and be recognized. Please give them a round of applause for the work that they do. I, myself, am an amateur in all things relating to music. I'm an excellent listener. I might be a professional listener, but in terms of all other things, I have to rate myself as an amateur. I do come from a sister discipline, though, in English, and I'd like to share a little bit of something from my world with you that might help best explain what it is that I see that is so vital in music. One of the most insightful explanations of poetry came from one of my favorite thinkers, Gerald Bruns. He tells us three things about poetry that deftly reflect my love of music. First, he says, poetry is made of language, but is not a use of it. That is, it forms concepts, narratives, expressions of feeling, and so on. Second, poetry is not necessarily made of words, but it is rooted in, and in fact, already fully formed by sound. Finally, poetry belongs to the world alongside ordinary things. It cannot be confined to some aesthetic, neutral, or disengaged dimension of human culture. Poetry does to a small extent what music does in its most natural form. It suffuses us, it penetrates us, it elates us, and it makes us suffer. It catches us off guard, it stops us mid-sentence, it binds us together, and puts us in a position where we cannot help but feel. That man-made magic is what you, out there in front of us, do. On behalf of my office, your college, and the president, thank you so much for sharing that world beyond ordinary things with us. I look forward to seeing what you do this semester. I look forward to hearing the music that you make for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. And now we move to the heart of our celebration as some of your peers and our students inspire us all with their artistry. It's really hard to follow that. That's awesome. So I'll start by just outlining a bit of choreography for the end of our gathering. So after my remarks, please remain seated as the stage party departs. And as soon as we're all at the back of the hall, you're welcome to recess to the sounds of the magnificent Jordan organ as played by Dr. Asuk Moon. I always like to begin by noting there's about 1,000 years of collective experience on this stage, and it's all at your disposal. It's a treasure we want to share with you. I mean, why ask ChatGPT when you could ask Dr. T? Right? So make it a point to ask lots of questions this year, and here's a little bribe. If you see me in the hall next week and stop me to ask a question, I'll not only do my best to answer it, I'll give you a candy bar. So these faculty members are going to ask you to work really hard this year because they can see sparks of artistry, creativity, scholarly ability, and other talents in you that you may not yet be aware of yourself. Metaphorically, they work with microscopes to help you with the minutia of building a healthy technique, a depth of knowledge, and a love for getting the details right. Telescopes to help you expand your horizons and open you up to the widest possible world of music making, and stethoscopes to help you tap into the unique heart that you and you alone bring to music. We're honored to be able to spend this year working with each and every one of you. To set a tone for the year, I've gathered 3 words from musical discourse that I'd like us to consider: movement, virtuosity, and phonograph. Movement has various meanings, both in and out of music. Learning what a movement is may well have given you that first cachet of belonging to the serious music club, possessing that specialist knowledge of when to clap and knowing what it means when a piece has multiple lines of Italian under its title. I use air quotes, though, because I was being facetious. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but please don't treat classical music and jazz like exclusive clubs only for the initiates. Nothing could push us faster to marginality, but that's a topic for another time. Before there is musical sound, there is movement, gesture, breath. Each should be produced in a healthy manner, and to support that, we have courses in body mapping and yoga for performers that I encourage you to seek out. Many of our faculty members have specialized training in those areas, and in vocology and vocal health, and in other means of exploring healthy physical movement. We want you to avoid injury, play and sing with freedom, and move naturally, both for your health and as a spur to your creativity. As Thomas Edison remarked, quote, "Great ideas begin in the muscles." Look around this hall. References to movement are everywhere, alluding to the flow of the Chattahoochee River and the flow of music. The eddies around the light fixtures, the curves of the balcony and its wooden surrounds, the waves on the walls, all evoke movement. Waves of wood and plaster, representing waves of water, representing waves of sound in motion. Ours is an art of movement. Did you know that the words virtuosity and virtue share the same Latin root, virtus? Virtue is moral excellence, uprightness, goodness. Virtues are desirable qualities such as courage, perseverance, and prudence. In ancient times, Greek philosophers were fairly obsessed with virtue. In fact, they identified cardinal virtues that were the key to a full and fulfilling life, and contemplation of the relationship between virtue and a meaningful life filled their writings. Much later, sages often proclaimed that the purpose of a university education was the cultivation of virtue. And perhaps not a coincidence, the process of cultivating virtue looks a lot like the path to virtuosity. As Thomas Jefferson wrote, quote, "Encourage all your virtuous dispositions and exercise them whenever an opportunity arises, being assured that they will gain strength by exercise as a limb of the body does, and that exercise will make them habitual." Virtuosity itself historically has 2 meanings. In the 17th century, it meant scholarship or connoisseurship, the ability to appreciate art and music. Only in the 18th century did it begin to acquire its current meaning and refer to the specific musical abilities of the most accomplished musicians. And that meaning spread to the wider culture and other fields. The Olympic motto, for instance, faster, higher, stronger, is a call for athletic virtuosity. So really there are three key ideas rooted in virtus: virtue, connoisseurship, and virtuosity. All three must inform our studies and our lives. They form a three-legged stool that supports our work. A key task for each of you over the course of your studies is integrating those three ideas and not tilting so heavily in one direction that the stool tips over. And now the phonograph, an old word for turntable, which literally means sound writer or sound recorder. Invented by Thomas Edison in the 1870s, it took America and eventually the world by storm, but not without what many came to believe were deleterious effects that threatened both live music performance and amateur music making. In 1906, John Philip Sousa, then a composer and bandmaster of worldwide renown, wrote a stinging magazine article titled "The Menace of Mechanical Music." Here are some quotes. "Sweeping across the country with the speed of a transient fashion in slang or Panama hats comes the mechanical device to sing for us a song or play for us a piano in substitute for human skill, intelligence, and soul. These ingenious instruments have invaded every community in the land. On a matter upon which I feel so deeply, I am quite willing to be reckoned an alarmist. I foresee a marked deterioration in American music and musical taste, an interruption in the musical development of the country, and a host of other injuries to music in its artistic manifestations, by virtue, or rather by vice, of the multiplication of the various music reproducing machines." And there's this: "Children are naturally imitative, and if in their infancy they hear only phonographs, will they not sing, if they sing at all, in imitation and finally become simply human phonographs without soul or expression?" Now, admirably, he goes on to really tout the strengths of all kinds of amateur music making throughout the country, but he finds those imperiled. You can find the entire article on the internet. It's a little hyperbolic, but quite fun to read. And by the way, because wax cylinders, the original records, came in a can, we have the phrase canned music, which is what Sousa was railing against. What just a few years earlier had seemed a wonderful tool for disseminating music came to be seen as a threat to the vibrant live musical culture. Sousa followed up by testifying to Congress, where his arguments did lead to important new copyright protections for musicians and for artistic creations. Now, on Tuesday, I saw a post in my Twitter feed about a new AI app, and this is what the promo said. With Suno, you can start from nothing and let Suno generate the entire song for you, complete with lyrics. No instruments, no mixing, no technical skills required, just your ideas turned into professional, ready-to-release music. So I tried it. It's kind of creepy, but AI is your phonograph times 10, and it'll be up to you, performers, music teachers, and music lovers, to advocate for and protect the uniquely human aspects of music made of, by, and for people. This is your generation's cause as much as it was Sousa's, to keep music's humanity and human connection front and center. You're going to have to navigate some tricky waters, and over the next year, it's likely to be even more massive change. We'll do our very best to see that you have the tools and the education to rise to that challenge. Students, for the coming year, my hope for you and my charge to you is that your movements be defined by ease, purpose, and conviction, that you pursue virtue as vigorously as virtuosity, and that you keep the full range of human experience as a critical touchstone at the center of your art. Have a great year.